ready to build resiliency, create a healthy lifestyle, and overcome adversity with a warrior mindset. This is Define the Fight with Mariah Prussia.
Wow, wow, wow. Where do I start on this fine Monday morning than with a powerhouse who has literally done it all and continues to make that climb in life? It is absolutely an honor to have a woman who not only was the face of L'Oreal, Pantene, Pond's, you name it, the list goes on, but she also dove into acting and was recognized in Biodome to now being an entrepreneur, creating a change within the fashion industry with being the founder and CEO of Devon Halsey. And I tell you what, I've had a conversation with this amazing woman. The face is just the first picture a person sees. They don't go into the true depth of who they are. And wow, all I can say is Dara Tomanovich is one to be reckoned with. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You
Can
know,
you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. I tell you what, Dara, it's listening to powerful women who are driven, who recognize that they weren't meant to be kept in a box. They were meant to build, to create, to love, and do so much more. You clearly have done that so far. And you know what? I feel like that you've only just begun.
You know what? It's just one day at a time. It literally is one day at a time. Thank you for being so gracious. It's like I'm always kind of like, I always feel like every job's like my first job. I'm excited. Everybody who knows me knows I show up at the airport 3 hours before to get to a job, because I want to be on time. It's kind of like, because I just think that anything can happen at any time to destabilize us, and life is like that. And now these are crazy times, really crazy times. And there's so many stereotypes about women, and we're all programmed. I talked with you a little bit about this the other day. It's about like figuring out who you are and starting to unravel your programming so that whatever your interests are, whatever your beliefs are, they can serve you more clearly and accomplish things for you, and be present. And yeah, that's what I try to do every day, just be aware and be grateful and push through, just push through.
I love the fact that I sent you a text message, and it's recognizing where is our work and life balance. And for you to come back and say, hey, usually I don't work on the weekends. I love that, because far and few between, we're always on, and we have to learn how to unplug and shut off so that we're establishing healthy boundaries so that we actually have those moments and times to live. And I want to dive in a little bit to, Dara, is you were recognized or found or discovered when you were 17. And I look at 17-year-olds now and how the world has shifted so much. Let's circle back to that day and age. I want to first and foremost know, what was your strength as a 17-year-old, and what did you learn diving into this whole new industry where it's unknown? So it's like the thrill of the unknown, but still there's got to be a lot of emotions and navigating through the storm.
Yeah, 17. When I think that it was my dad that allowed me to go away when I was 17. I think, it's really interesting. I'm finding out a lot about my parents now. My father's been gone now for 30 years, but I always feel he's right next to me. And my mom's around still, and I have a brother. And the way that I grew up really strict. So I was a super dreamer, like not just dreaming. I mean, I was full on manifesting and visualizing in my head that I was going to travel the world and I was going to be somebody one day. And I was unapologetic about it, and I remember my dad giving me a little money to go with the music camp from high school. And I didn't play an instrument or anything. And he said, oh, they're going to New York City, Dad. I'd love to go. And he gave me money and I went with my school. And then after that, I would ask him, hey, Dad, can I have money to go to New York? And he'd say, yeah, if you take a friend along with you. Like, he really trusted me. And he knew I grew up with very strict moral code and a foundation and a belief system. And I think that's kind of what always had my back, that I knew that I wasn't ever excessive in one way. Yeah, I'd have fun and I'd hang out, but like I met people, like I went out and I met people, and I always had friends that were a little older than me, and they would invite me to things. And I was a very serious adolescent, right? So when I how I got to Europe was I had a very good friend, and she was a supermodel at the time, and she was in Paris and she was doing all the shows. And I went to go see her. My parents said, yeah, you could visit her. And that's how it all kind of came down. So my dad knew that I had a strong head on my shoulders. He wasn't too worried about me. I wasn't really interested in boys or anything like that. I mean, I was career driven. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I got to get out there and find it. It was just steps that kind of just layered one on top of the other that to this day take me, so I just don't resist. I allow it to happen. I just allow things to happen, and see where it goes. Right. So that's it. It's just that foundation of being aware of everything around me, and just knowing who I am and where I come from and the challenges that my parents went through, and honoring that, and moving through life every day with that in mind.
And I do
Right.
believe that there's a lot of individuals who are born with strength and that resilience, right? So there's some people that will, whether it's reading, the key thing is when you're reading a book, it's the application. If you don't apply it, then you're wasting a lot of time and energy on, okay, well, maybe I'll look at this later or I'll circle back. But when it comes to strength, when it comes to that warrior mindset, there's some people that are literally born with it. Like, you know what? There's going to be obstacles, there's going to be roadblocks. However, I'm going to make sure that I'm either going to climb over them, I'm going to break through them, I'm going to address them and keep moving forward. Nothing is going to make me step backwards. But there's also individuals too that slowly start building strength throughout life to get to that point. And clearly it sounds like you were born where it doesn't matter where I'm dropped. I'm going to be successful because of the fact of, you know what, no one's going to hold me back because I know who I am. And I think that's a very valuable piece, is being able to identify and hold true to your values, your personal ethos, so on and so forth, because far too often people haven't taken the time to identify what those are.
Right. And I think also having that warrior mentality doesn't serve you across the board. Like, and when you're younger, you have to know how to hone that craft. And I remember an ex-boyfriend of mine saying to me once, you don't have to open up your mouth and talk. You can just be quiet because you're already the most interesting person in the room. And I remember being so offended by it. But now I understand what that meant. It meant like, there's something about you. People want to get to know you. And it's true. People tell me things all the time, very personal things. I can befriend people very easily, or I can turn people off very easily. And I'm very aware of that. Right.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Like, I don't take offense to it anymore. It's the process of deprogramming your warrior spirit and realigning it as you go along in like bits and pieces to serve you, right? It's not like, because quite often when you're younger and you've got that spirit inside of you, it can be a little bit like off-putting for people. They want to judge you, they want to compartmentalize you, they wanted to, but it's all you're trying to do is come from a place of like, I just know what I want, and I'm not gonna pussyfoot around it all.
Right.
I know what I want, right? And going for it. And there's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of competitive people. I am not a jealous person. I am not a competitive person with anyone out there but myself.
100%.
I do a really great job at giving my inner dialogue is pretty tough on me. So I give myself enough that I don't need extra. I don't hear out. I drown out all the other stuff. And also it's kind of like, I think so many people are so quick to judge other people. And I mean, I'm not perfect. So why would I judge someone else? And I see it all the time. But also, a lot of people are still stuck. And it's like, I'm just too busy staying in my lane, figuring out what I want in my life and trying to do it mindfully. You know what I mean? And if people want to be my friends or go along or of like minds and stuff, I totally welcome it. And I've got an incredible group of friends. I've got friends that are there for me through thick and thin, and there for me when I'm like happiest, which is important, right?
Right. You
Who you
made
surround yourself.
who you surround yourself with is absolutely very, very important. You made two different statements. I want to circle back before we go into break, was the fact of honing in your warrior mindset. And one thing I want to circle to is ego. We're learning so much about our ego, and like you had mentioned, sometimes it's about being quiet and listening, and that is honing in and tying that back, because we don't have to know it all. And then second of all is when we walk into a room, our energy is already going to be recognized. It's going to be noticed by the frequency. And one individual had mentioned this to me is, if you are elevating at a 10 and the room is elevating at like a 3, you have to bring your energy down to match the energy of the room. And then at that point, you can help elevate others, because if it's too strong, it's going to defer people from rising up. And it was a great statement for me to look at it from a different realm, because wow, it's like you can feel when the frequency is lower in a room, and you don't want to come in there like, here I am, woo, let's go world, where they're like, whoa, I just can't. Give me doses, bits and pieces. But I want to know, when we come back, Dara, is you have done so much, and I want to know some of the challenges and the obstacles that you did face to find your resiliency, to define your fight moving forward. So we'll be back here shortly on Define the Fight. Hey, welcome back to Define the Fight. We are here with Dara Tomanovich. What can I say and what can't I say is really what it comes down to. Is she's got books. I'm not saying she's an author, but I'm just saying that she's got books of so many different components of growth, which is amazing. So, prior to us going into break, I wanted to talk about some of the different challenges that you had faced, because we look at now, women are really rising. They're being recognized for being entrepreneurs, for stepping outside of, what used to be the so-called norm. But when you were modeling, the women movement or women empowerment really wasn't at that point. So for you, what were some of those challenges that you faced, whether it was in the modeling industry or acting, where it's like, okay, I'm a woman. Are they taking me seriously? Are they only seeing me as a face? Are they seeing me for who I am? What did that look like for you, Dara?
Oof, that's a loaded gun. So yeah. Okay, let's start this. Because I was discovered didn't mean it could have been a one hit. I could have been a one hit wonder, right? But I kept at it, and I'm the kind of person that doesn't give up. Like I know it's a question of time. I've always felt like an underdog. My family's from Montenegro, from Serbia, and I've always felt, and I've been bullied in school and things. So for me, it was just like I was resilient. I had a lot of love at home, and I cherished that. So I knew that I would eventually get out and see the world and do and have like a strong foundation, like I keep back to going. So, but what was hard was when I was away from home, I didn't have like coping mechanisms, and in that time, we all smoked cigarettes, we all drank, we all went out clubbing till X amount in the morning, like 2 3 in the morning, and the next day went on 9 castings and stuff. Thank God for youth. You can still look fresh and stuff. But the thing I remember the most, which I wish I could have a healthier sense of, was body image. And that's the thing. When I started modeling, I was not exactly 5'9". I was like 5'8 3/4, and it was a problem. Like how many times I got flown to Milan to go do Giorgio Armani, and it's like, no, she's just a little too short. How many times, I didn't really fit, like ethic, my ethnicity didn't like, translate for what the client wanted. So that parlayed into what happened with a lot of girls, eating disorders, which are pretty much normal, whether it's anorexia or bulimia or anything. I truly believe that most young ladies go through some kind of body image realignment or some kind of like insecurity about that. That's what I love about girls today. It's like they can, like, it doesn't matter how small, tall, big, or whatever, they own it, right? That wasn't really happening in a modeling space. I mean, you had to be really, really skinny, and I think, my body wasn't super developed yet. I mean, I wasn't. I was a late developer. So that's the thing that was, if I could change one thing looking back, I just would be a little bit more mindful of being more healthy in that department. And just treating my temple more beautifully, as I like to say today. But there are a lot of challenges. This is like, look, I grew up in The Wolf of Wall Street in New York, and we all saw that movie. And there were all the players were around, all the men that are in trouble now or have died in jail. They were all around. One of them happened to be my agent in Paris, who actually died in jail and was Me Too'd and all that. He was very kind to me. I had a different relationship with men in the field than a lot of girls did. I wasn't really the girl that was naive to believe a lot of things. Like I said, growing up strict, growing up a little bit more like closed off, and then just being able to express myself in modeling or acting or whatever have you. It saved me. It actually saved me, right? So those were pretty much the challenges. But like anything, it's kind of like you just roll with the punches. I just never got involved in any of that, none of it. They were all my friends, and what happened happened, but um, and it happened to girls that took opportunities, that took liberties, and it happened to girls that were innocent of all of that. And it's sad across the board, but it wasn't something that was in my wheelhouse. Let's just say I just kept it at bay. I wasn't privy to that kind of destructive behavior that was going on. But it was challenging because I've always been the underdog. So for me, not to get, I don't know, not to be, I don't need to be successful. That's what I want to say.
I get that.
I already feel I'm successful. I'm alive. I'm a cancer survivor, a breast cancer survivor. I'm a woman who has broken all the stigma of being a Serbian woman. I'm a woman who's changed my career at the age of 50, a 30-year successful career at the age of 50, and started something in a field I know nothing about, golf, because I fell in love with a golfer. COVID, a lot of people had a hard time with COVID.
Yep.
I had a realignment of my frequency in COVID. I had met an incredible man in 2019, in November of 2019, and we were the COVID couple. We were definitely, there was nothing that could hide. We couldn't hide who we really were together because we were together breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So over that, it afforded me the time the pause, I'll say, to really reflect on myself and have that without any outdoor voices or anything like that, or being away from my friends. If I hadn't been with him, I probably would have learned another two languages, read every book in my house, been in like ridiculous shape, and I don't know, would be living somewhere else and doing something else right now. But that's where my destiny was, and I didn't resist it. I went with it, and here I am today. So is this success? I don't know. You tell me. It's kind of like just another day of just doing my best as best I can. Um, I know it sounds like it's kind of hokey, but
Not at
it's
all.
true. I really feel I'm getting back to also those things that I really love doing, and that's reading and reading very important books, not self-help books, but like books by acclaimed authors like Gabor Mate, The Hidden Stress When the Body Says No, Hidden Stresses, and things like that, which are really important for me. And the reason why I said to you yesterday is that I don't really get on the computer or my phone on the weekends is because it's not a choice. It was mandatory for me. I've sustained 11 concussions and went through brain injury in the last 2 years, and was in a car accident in Los Angeles. So concussions are a real thing. And when stress is involved and deadlines have to be made, and you're an A-type personality like myself,
Yep.
it works against you. So you've got to know who you are and what your limitations are, and you've got to take it down. And for me, it just happened to be, okay, well, I'm going to take the weekends off and, take care of myself.
Well, and the thing is,
Uh,
if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to, right? So when the foundation breaks, you can't really keep the house
which
going.
is
And
a mistake, which is a mistake women make.
100%, 100%.
This is our programming, but this is our programming, right?
Yep.
The man is the hunter, the gatherer. It's like, enough of that. We all know who's doing the hunting and the gathering, the women, right? It's like, that's it, right? So it's that. And And yeah, so
I think it just comes down to recognizing that self-care isn't selfish, it's being self-aware, and that's what the direction that we have to move forward when it comes to health and wellness. But we're going to go into a quick break here, Dara, but I want to talk about your fashion line, your apparel, and you spoke about COVID and your man. Well, I want to know what came out of COVID when we come back here on Define the Fight. Hey, welcome back to Define the Fight. We are here with Dara Tomanovich. She is the founder and CEO of Devon Halsey. And I tell you what, she's got a story behind the clothing line, and it is unbelievable. I'm a firm believer that purpose and mission is found through different daily activities, and sometimes a thought, an idea comes into full fruition when we have the moments to take that time to breathe. So Dara, let's talk about your clothing line, how it all came into play, because when you told me, I have to be honest, inside I was laughing a little bit because you're like, I really didn't want to wear this. So let's talk about how your inspiration came into play.
oh gosh, this is a story of stories. So it's COVID, and I didn't know that the guy that I fell in love with is like this avid golfer and member at multiple clubs. And he's this really sweet, gentle being. So the first trip he takes me away, he's like, "Where do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Let's go to Barbados," because I used to surf there as a kid. It's my favorite island, and I just love Barbados. He said, "All right." I said, "Look, if I don't like you, I can spa and I'll get you on the Green Monkey. I know the people there." And it's like, he's like, "All right." So on January 5th, 2020, he takes me, and it's beautiful, this golf course, right? And I've never golfed before. I wasn't even on. I don't have the time to be part of a country club. It's like I know people all over the place. It's like it's just a weird thing for me. I didn't grow up like that. So he gives me his driver and he shows me how to hit the ball, and I hit it, and I hit it straight, like 220 feet straight. And he said, like, "There's no way you haven't played golf before." And I'm like, "No, no, no, I really haven't played golf before." He's like, "All right, do that again." Fluke. I do it again. And then I do it again. And then I do it again. And he's like, "You're lying." And I'm like, "No, I'm an ex-Canadian hockey player." He's like, "Oh, that's it." And I said, "Yeah." And I used to play baseball. I was quite athletic. And he was like, "That's it. Baseball players, hockey players, you guys are really good at this." So it was fun. And he's a very patient man, tolerant. And I don't know. I just kind of like, I'm like a parrot. I see something and I can mimic it. I take direction very well. So, which came in handy for acting. So I just became like this golfer with him. And over COVID, the only thing that was open between California and New York for us, which were pretty much in lockdown, was golf. So we golfed every single day, driving across state lines in Arizona where it was 103. I couldn't try anything on. These golf clubs were full of all men's clothes and a small section for women. And that section for women was full of, can I say it?
Go for it.
Can
Depending
I
on what
say
it
what I
is.
really
Depends on what it really is. If it's the F-bomb, no.
No, I want to say that. Okay, so let's implement the F bomb before. The worst clothes ever made for women in golf, to the point that I was said, "I know what's going on here. If this is a boys' club and you don't want women to play golf, because it's absolutely unapologetic that clothes look like this." But then I realized throughout my journey, I know why now, because men were designing for women and when men were buying for women. Okay,
Yep.
so that I got. So what I did was I went back home to our house in LA when we were done. And he said something to me that, like, a light bulb went off. He said, "Do you want to be a model and an actor for the rest of your life?" And I said, "That's a good question. I've actually been wondering that. I've dibbled in other things, And I said, I've got a couple of degrees from UCLA in journalism. That's what I originally wanted to do before I got completely derailed, was be a wartime correspondent. And I tell you, what David did was he sparked something inside of me, and because he was working throughout COVID and I wasn't, I was really inspired by his energy and how much he loved the sport, and I kind of got the bug too. So I made a whole dossier of all the women's brands around the world and tried to connect a shirt with a skirt, or a jacket, if there was a jacket that I could find, with a pair of pants or something. And I started to realize there was a lot of dots that didn't connect, right? And I thought, well, this can't be that difficult. So then I thought, well, I'm not a pattern girl. Let me do monochromatic because that's how I kind of dress too. I'm always monochromatic dressed, and I always feel it just kind of like looks a little bit more sharp than wearing multiple different clothes for me, anyway. And I started to draw, and I started to put up vision boards, and I started to do this stuff because I said, you know what, David, I think I have a an idea. And he said, what's that? I said, I'm thinking of starting a women's luxury golf brand. And he said to me, that's exactly what you should be doing. And I said, why do you think that? And he said, it's because you've got good taste. So like I've never given myself that, but quite often people have said, "Oh, you look good," or "You look," it's something that I hear quite often. You're put together nicely. Sure, when you're a model or an actor, look, I wasn't. I would say I wasn't the prettiest girl, the tallest girl, or the skinniest girl, but somehow I would land a job, right? And what was that? I would do the research on my clients, on these clients before I even walked in. I would walk in looking like the part. And in those days, we didn't have fast fashion. There was no Zara, there was no H&M. So if you wanted to get that Prada job, you better come dressed all in Prada, you know? If you wanted to get that commercial, you better come dressed like the last commercial they did. I would study, right? Because again, the underdog mentality, right? I would give it 100%, and then I would just let it roll and see what would happen. And I think that was my secret sauce, to be honest with you, because, and then I would take my little dog. I had a little Pomeranian at the time. I have one now too, who's a little icon in my clothes. And I would take her, and this was way back then, like 30 years ago, nobody had a little small dog. And I would take her with me, and people say, that girl with the dog. She became my good luck little icon, and I would take her around, and she shot multiple things with me. But anyway, going back to Devon Halsey, I also started seeing that there were these holes, like there's no outerwear really for women. And then I thought, as I'm traveling with David cross country and cross state lines, I mean, it became like if we were going to dinner, or if we were, I was packing a lot of suitcases. I was packing a lot of stuff. And I hated that because I became like a prisoner, a slave to my own, suitcase. I just wanted to make it really easy to throw stuff in the car and know that it can go across a lot of platform needs and of mine. So this is how this came about. So I created a rain jacket, and then I call it my driver jacket. So she's all monochromatically meant to be worn, but you can mix and match different things. So this is what I call FORE, F-O-R-E in one. She is a fleece lined vest, and then a bolero jacket zips off. She's got a rain hoodie, totally water repellent. You can fish in her, ski in her, hot air balloon in her, hike in her. I've had a lot of clients and friends do these things, and they love it. They say it's an awesome jacket. She's awesome to travel with. And then I did like that whole, being Canadian, I love North Face. An elevated North Face / motorcycle jacket, my moto.
That's awesome.
And that's a great piece to have because she's great to layer, great to travel in, because a lot of clients they travel different places. Then I did what's called a Lexi. And then from that point on, if you go on the website, www.devonhalsey.com, you'll see my website. But if you wait 1 week, you'll see a whole new website come up that I'm really proud of, and I'm marketing differently. Truth of the matter is I never wanted to be the face, being in front of the camera for 30 years. I never wanted to be the face, but knowing that I've done very well for sales for Procter and Gamble and Rock and, Johnson and Johnson and these things, I got kind of forced by my team to be the face and do the talk. And I don't mind. I actually love meeting my clients. I love setting up my own shows. I love hearing feedback. I've had 1 return and 2 exchanges in 5 years.
Oh.
That says a lot. I am the fit for my clothes because I fit for LL Bean and various brands, J. Crew, Valentino, Calvin Klein, Hunter. So I know that my body type works for a multitude of demographics and for women's shapes and sizes and heights and things. So it was all putting everything that I learned in 30 years. Because I did learn. I mean, I'd always show up at jobs and big jobs, and I'd be like, why me? And they would say some silly things. These ad executives would say the silliest stuff. Like it would either be the dog, or that my hair was perfectly parted, or that they liked what I was wearing that day. Can you imagine?
Perfectly parted.
Or
That's a new one. That's a new one.
yeah, yeah, perfectly parted hair. Well, why wouldn't you come to a hair casting with like clean hair and blown out? You know what I mean? I would sit there in a room and I'd look around and I'd be like, I actually might have a shot at this. Like I actually clean up pretty good. And these girls are coming in from the club. It's kind of like they've been out all night and their fingernail polish is chipped off. And I'm like, wow, that's how mindful I was. I always walked in assuming the job was already mine and always was surprised, even to this day, when I book something. It's crazy. I am. Even when I sell a jacket or anything like this. So going back to the story of Devon Halsey, then it became really what my needs were: pants, skirts, knit skirts, cashmere cotton sweaters, polos, long sleeve mocks. I travel to Munich, I travel to Portland. I meet all of the people, all the textile people, all the people that invent zippers and different kinds of zippers and toggles and you name it. I really do the research and I very subtly emboss all my jackets and my clothing because I want you to go from day to night. I want you to pack, super light, but have multifunctional and fashionable pieces in your suitcase, and that you can play and you can, enjoy,
Well,
right, for a long time.
and I love the fact that you're talking about how you did the research on each company before going in for an interview, down to the detail. And now you're utilizing the detail that, working through the modeling industry into your clothing line, and how important those small details, they do matter. But your mission statement, I love your mission statement, is to empower women to feel confident and stylish by offering premium quality and fashion forward luxury activewear. That's a great, and you may have tweaked it, but I think it's very important because what we wear does impact us and empower us. You're going to feel different. There's just something to be said, whether you're wearing makeup, whether you're wearing a new outfit, whatever that is, whether you're a male or a female, things can shift your mindset pretty quickly. And not to talk from like a superficial perspective, but when you want to go out and add to that confidence that you already have internally, match it with that externally, like go out there and just bring it home. That's really what it comes down to.
Exactly. And it's also, I'm very mindful. We all work very hard to make a living. And I've had many highs and lows in my career, where I've done very well. And then I've been like, I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent check. So it's like, I fully understand that my pieces are investment pieces. However, for what joy they bring, because I know they do, this is the feedback I get. And for how women buy a jacket and a pair of joggers just to travel in, and they don't play golf. Golf has become what like Lululemon did for the yoga pant. That athletic leisure. Look, I went to a big, huge brand 15 years ago, 16 years ago. That was friends of mine, French brand that do very, very well. And I said, you guys need to do an athletic leisure component to it, and I would love to do that for you. And they laughed. It was the first person I called. With these people, I said, listen, I'm doing a golf line. They were like, you know what? We should have listened to you. Because over COVID, that's what came out of it, right?
Yep.
All these athletic leisure brands, and not for anything. And this isn't a bad thing. I'm not going to go around promoting another luxury brand's insignia all over my body.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
It's not who I am. And it's certainly, I'm not doing free advertising. Do you know what I mean? But I do understand the value of clothing, good clothing that lasts, clothing that's more organic, or clothing, the functionality of clothing. I have an incredible logistics girl that works with me, Frances, and she just is like, she blows my mind every single time, because when we go away on these trips and we break down the science of material and fabrics, I know you're going to have my jacket, my skirts, I know it's going to be in your closet for a really long time. And I'm the kind of person that I think a woman's body is beautiful. And, I know a lot of women like to wear less. For me, it's like, that doesn't bother me at all. You do you. For me, I just think, sometimes it's nice to not be so obvious, and allow yourself to be discovered by those people around you, and
100%.
that's really important for your mental psyche, It's very important for your heart. It's kind of like we all have hearts and we all have in our bodies that make us function. And I think what we forget is, to love yourself as well, to really, really take care of yourself. Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, right? And I think if we can manage as women our stress levels, because we're quite complicated, multifaceted, and we're kind to one another, I think that starts with you. You know what I mean? It all starts with you. I had a gentleman. It's funny. I got dressed one day all in my lavender. I had a lavender polo shirt on with lavender skirt on, with lavender socks and purple shoes and a purple hat. And before I walked out the door, David said to me, honey, don't you think that's a little too much purple? I said, darling, it's the point. It's a monochromatic line kind of thing. And the moment we got to our club in Los Angeles at Hillcrest, which is a great club, one of these gentlemen, he said to me, wow, you look really good. And by the way, Dara, my wife bought a couple of pieces. She looks like a little girl, the girl that I first met,
Fell in
like
love
in your
with,
clothes.
that you fell in love
Fell in
with.
love with. And that's a really, and I just looked at my guy and I was like, there you have it.
There
It's
you
kind
go.
of like,
Well, I want to provide the website, though. I want to provide the website so people know exactly. So it's Devon Halsey. It's spelt differently now. I had to ask in regards to pronunciation. So it's DevonHalsey.com. Make sure you guys go over to her website right now. Check it out. We're going to go into a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to have Dara leave us with a tip of how to make sure that you are maintaining health and wellness internally when we come back on Define the Fight. Hey, welcome back to Define the Fight. And Dara is over here flexing. She's showing the big guns over on the screen. You can't see her, but I can. So here we go. Bring it out. I love the fact that when we're talking about women's health, empowerment, being strong, there's a lot of different pieces and ways to define strength. And I think far too often we lean into that physical modality on we have to be externally strong when the reality is it starts from within. And I tell a lot of people that you have to win the battle in your mind before you step foot on the battlefield. So when I look at different structures or different healing modalities, I'm curious on what you incorporate into your life on a daily basis to find and maintain that internal peace in a very crazy and chaotic world.
all right. So my thing is, anything can happen from 9 o'clock onwards. So this is the way I look at it. I wake up super early, 4:35 a.m. I push every thought out of my head. I'm a student of Vipassana meditation, which is, if anybody knows, that's a very difficult meditation to do. You move energy equanimously through your body through breath work. You can look that up, Vipassana meditation. However, what I do is I've got this great essential oil. It's called Melissa oil. It almost smells like pine sol, but think more lemongrass, right? And what I do is I activate my brain in the morning with this essential oil by taking 3 deep breaths with this oil. Just open it up and just put the little nozzle close to your nose and just take 3 relieving breaths. And then what I do is I have a machine that stimulates my vagus nerve. I know this sounds like bizarre, but I do. And it's this little thing that if you can find, it's called a Resimax, and it was invented for actually migraines. And they know that this helps because I was going through concussions to stimulate your vagus nerve. Then what I do is I basically put on a really beautiful song. I have one from Devi Patel that's really beautiful that I listen to every morning. And that just kind of brings me down and keeps the noise out of my head. And then I'll listen to either Sholin Monk talking about like empowering yourself as a woman, Dr. Alan Watts. I will listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza, whatever I feel I need. And then I'll probably do that for 30 minutes. And then I'll start reading a book that I'm reading. And usually it's a book like what I'm reading right now, the Gabor Mate, The Myth of Normal, right? Which is the second book I'm reading. I love this book. It talks about people who are ill and their personality traits and traumas, childhood trauma. Again, it's all about the deprogramming of who you are and knowing yourself. Great case studies in that book. And the way he explains it is just like phenomenal. I mean, I'm like, I know a person like that. I'm kind of like that. Oh, maybe that's where I get, it's all that dissecting yourself a little bit. And then I just sit in silence. And this whole time that I'm doing this, the sun is rising slowly. And that's when I make the choice that today's going to be a good day.
I love that. Very, very
Period.
empowering, because I think far too often we decide to light the match before we take care of our internal peace. And the reality is the match is always going to be there. The fire is going to be there. But first we have to,
Look at your phone.
yep, shut off
Don't
the
ever look at
stimulation.
the phone. Shut off. Don't ever turn on a TV. Don't ever look at the phone. It's all negative. It's all super, 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 super negative. That's what news is. That's what they wait until you wake up a little bit. Please give yourself those moments in the morning.
Yes.
Okay. Just do it. And if you can't wake up that early while you're lying in bed and slowly waking up, just move your breath through your body and stretch and just push it all out. If you start doing these exercises before you go to sleep and after, you're going to wake up so much more positive and ready for stuff. I'm not kidding you. It totally works. It's not easy. Every day is different, but just give yourself this gift. If you give yourself these 5 minutes every morning, I promise you, you're going to wake up and be a warrior. You're going to slay.
Seeing change, embracing time versus racing time. So Dara, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Do you want to share your website one more time here before we sign off and people go out and nail their day?
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much. www.devon, Devon Halsey, HALSEY.com.
Beautiful. Thank you again, Dara, for joining us. Until we see you guys next week, every day you have a choice. So get out there, define the fight to win the fight. We'll see you then.